Hello, City Skylines fans. I'm Soxway Up, and welcome back to our 5K challenge playthrough. This is episode 3. We're sitting at 22,000 population. We're getting the game started already, and the clock started because I want to get some more cycles of the game just running. We got a few comments. We'll address that during the time lapse. And today, really, I think the goal is going to be touching on a little bit of public transportation. Traffic's going to creep up on us. We can see right here. It already is starting to. These two intersections are probably too close to each other, and that was definitely probably a mistake. I might end up killing one of these roads or these connections and have this intersection here. Yeah, we might have to do that. We might lose a little bit of population. This island's looking pretty good. It has a little more than we thought. The traffic, yeah, looks like today might be the day. Today might be the day, and this office and industry demand is outrageous. Outrageous. So I don't know if buildings need to be covered by more services. Okay, so if we took care of some of the needs of these businesses, I'm kind of interested because I haven't done this in a long time. One overeducated worker. Interesting. So we're starting to get educated too much. Okay, we're getting distracted. We're losing time. Yeah, let's get the time lapse going, and we'll potentially work on leveling up, improving some of the services around these areas, adding some ferries, potentially adding some metro, some buses, police stations, all the good things that they need in this area. See if these upgrading, 'cause that's something I've never really tested. If these upgrades take care of some of the demand. I'm not sure if it does, but let's get to rolling. As mentioned in the intro, we are going to add a lot of services to this area or around all of the offices, trying to get them to upgrade. It ticks a little bit of the demand down, not enough to really make a huge impact. By the time we get them all to level up, well, we get a good amount of them to level 2, and then also a good amount of them to level 3. It did pull it down a little bit, probably at about halfway, so about 50% demand there. You see here, we're starting to add some public transportation with the metro. So the idea that we're going here, as we share a comment on the screen, we're adding in metro in the underneath the ground, and then over the water. The idea was to have the tracks exposed. I thought that was a really cool idea. That way we can still see the metro moving around the islands, but then in the actual residential areas or the business areas, the populated areas, they're going to be underground like subways. Next episode, we'll probably get to some ferries as well. I want to get those added. But a lot of this start here was pre-planning, getting ahead of the curve of the incoming traffic issues. Another comment that I did want to address here is from Liam's, talking about the 4-lane roads on the outside of the islands. It may not be the best design. It's what I went through, and I did leave a detailed comment back to Liam. Thank you a ton for the comment, but let's go into a little bit of detail of that response. So my original idea starting this was to start getting an idea of the population that I could cram into an island without really worrying about leveling up the buildings all the way. I wanted to get that base feel of what I could fit. As I kept going and diving into this series, I started to feel that I wasn't going to have to redesign it. Not saying that this is an easy challenge, because I don't think it's easy. I think we're going to run into some problems that are going to make us really eat at the clock. I mean, right now we're pacing for about 4.5 hours to finish this. That being said, I do think traffic's going to come in, and it's going to depend on how well we improve the traffic. So back to my original thoughts, as I might have mentioned in the first video, I can't remember. We were thinking about redesigning things once we unlocked all the milestones. I wanted to get all the road types, all the mass transit types, all unlocked so that if we wanted to just start over at 0 population, within the 24-hour window that we gave ourselves to do this build, we could do that and learn a lot about what we can fit on this island. Not necessarily the real way a city would get developed or designed, but it was something in my head that was my original thoughts. And like I said, not really sure about redoing it at this point because it seems like it's going good. We do talk later in the outro about what we might do after we hit 50,000, which does lead into a redesign, but we'll leave that for the end of the video for us to talk about. But here we're finally starting to put together the trams. We're starting to put together the metros, getting them all connected, getting all those lines going so that we can get that going. And then we start adding a policy as well to allow free public transportation. You can see we're kind of taking a look at some of these buildings and seeing that they did level up to level 2. They were pretty much all level 1 when we started the episode. We get a handful of them to level 3, and we keep on pushing to get the rest of them to level 2, and the demand's still about where it was. Police do help. We added police, and we started seeing upgrades instantly. That is definitely a service that people want around their businesses to make sure that they're safe. And you don't want to have like a high-class business without having any type of public safety around to help you, take care of issues that may pop up when people try to rob you. Very realistic, in my opinion, on that feature. The big hospital also helped as well. Like, hospitals are not just for residential areas. You definitely need hospitals near businesses and commercial. Things do happen, or at least you need some type of medical treatment that can be close by in case emergencies and all of that. Later on, we do also run into an issue with death care. We get that solved in this episode. But a lot of this was, making this big island, which kind of needs a name, but this big island ready for the mass amount of people we're about to throw at it. And when we get to the end of it, it seems like we potentially could hit 50,000 with just this island. Don't really want to do that because of the impact that will have, as we'll see here in a few minutes. We're about 20 minutes into this build today, and we haven't really grown much. We're at 25,000, haven't added any residential, so that's just naturally people getting educated, causing buildings to upgrade, getting more people into those buildings. It's kind of nice to be able to play with the public transportation, and at the same time playing at times 3, it allows the game to do its cycles and get us to where we need to get to at the very end of the build. Having these one-directional or one-way roads around that big island made me really question if I wanted to add buses on those lanes or on that road specifically, so we skipped it. We might need to add some bus stops later on to help the land value. Something else that was in that comment earlier was talking about how the land value around the water is naturally higher, and that is absolutely the case in real life. That is the way it is in this game. Again, if it's something that it comes down to when we have to do a redesign, if we can't hit 50,000, we will address it. But call it laziness, call it this is going smoother than I thought. I would not design the city this way at all if I was doing it for a pretty city design. And here we start building out a little bit of a proof of concept of Liam's design that he came up with, or that he mentioned in his comments. And it does utilize the space pretty well, and also has a nice look compared to the wasted space of the, not wasted space, but the lost opportunity that comes with having land that is up against the water and that natural increased land value. We do put industrial out in this area, but it was an idea for me to kind of see how much I could throw into one of these areas with this different type of road design. And honestly, this type of road design would probably lead to better cross island traffic as well, or driving as well, and all of that. Just the transportation island to island would be improved with better road layout. Definitely not going to argue that at all. It's a better road layout than what we did. I do like to mimic this circle that I create when we have a large landmass that has natural terrain to follow. So it kind of just fit into a model that I use in larger maps as well, and it was something that I knew would work. So I think it's enough time talking about that. Tons of basketball courts. We wanted to add all of these to get the park level higher for the new residents that are coming in. We also are going to add a bunch of schools here. We're going to add an elementary school, a high school, a college. We're running out of capacity in the university. As we saw earlier, we're starting to get too many highly educated people, which is okay. We could potentially start upgrading some of the yellow or orange, I think it's orange, the orange zoned industrial 2 offices if we wanted to clean up the environment a little bit. Something that we could do. This was the big issue. Finally, we started seeing some traffic, and I adjusted this road to be a one-way road, which helped a little bit. I also shut off the junctions. There's no stop signs, no lights in a few of these, and that helped. Later on, we start playing around. Well, here I started noticing trash was backing up. So we added on this little island that we don't plan on building on, just a little depot of trash, of a dumpster, and some buildings to process the trash as well. And again, it's time. It's time here. We're 33 minutes in, and traffic is starting to get to the point where it might start looking like a gridlock. This one here starting to improve. One of the things that may or may not be happening here is an influx of new people coming to the city. As we start to see these big jumps here as we're pushing towards 30,000 now, we're gonna start seeing these waves coming in and leaving. Not coming in and leaving, they're coming in and staying. So we're gonna see traffic increase, and if we let that play through, sometimes you're okay. Sometimes that increased traffic is just increased traffic. And I'm starting to second guess myself. I really confuse myself sometimes between modded City Skylines and vanilla, which we're playing here, are unmodded. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do remember seeing large waves when you increase the population a lot of traffic. I think that's what's going on there, but some real traffic is coming. Here we created a leisure zone. I wanted to see how this would affect the commercial demand. And also I started to kind of think, why not be nice to the area and make it look a little bit different and unique and use a lot of that commercial demand that was starting to peak. And it definitely ate that demand very fast. And the commercial demand does slowly come back a little bit by the end of this next 20 minutes of the build. But it definitely helped. That was a great idea. I'm glad we did that. Here I started to change the roads up, and you know what? I hate it. I hate the way this area turned out. Again, we're not really going for looks here, but my personality is always judging it. And this city's ugly right now, but it's okay. We're gonna get this challenge done. We're gonna win the challenge, and then maybe we'll make it pretty. We'll talk about that later. See, here I knew we were getting to where we're gonna hit 20,000, so I stopped zoning on the main road on the circle around the island. We're gonna leave buildings away from that. That'll help with traffic long-term. We don't want buses or vehicles that are dropping off goods, trucks and trash, and all of them stopping around the main road and causing traffic jams and backups. We want to keep those on the interior roads. But here it was about time to start staring at the game again. I built up about as much as I wanted to. You can see our demands are almost completely gone. Industrial demand was creeping up a little bit again, but it was time to let the game really catch up again. And that's what we're doing right now. So this little area was starting to back up, and I backed the camera out to a specific spot because I wanted to see if it was coming and going or if it was going to start backing up behind the camera there. And it did. It started to become an issue. So we start looking at the lane math here and seeing what we can do with vanilla roads and without traffic manager mod. There's some things we can do, especially with the roads that I have. And you got to forgive me here. I don't know if some of these are custom roads. I haven't been keeping up with what's been added in Vanilla City Skylines since the last few updates. Most of the time when I play, I stick to modded roads. So this was a bad idea with this 5-lane or one-way road. It just split the traffic too much, and the AI is not smart enough to know what to do. Here we drop down to a 4-lane one-way road, which did help a little bit. So now we have one road, we have one lane that's dedicated to turn left, we have one lane that's dedicated to turn right, and then the middle roads can do straight left or straight right, which isn't ideal, but it did help. It was enough to get some of that traffic moving. And then we also did the same thing on the other side of this intersection that's leaving this island. As you can see, the exiting traffic was starting to back up as well. Just changing the number of lanes to try to force a turn-only lane is what we were trying to do, and that way the traffic that was leaving would go all the way to the right, and the traffic that was just looping around the island would stay in some of those middle lanes. And that seemed to help because a lot of the times traffic issues are the flow not being quick enough and people having to wait for each other. And we're trying to get away from that and avoid that being the issue as much as we can without mods to help us dictate what lane people are picking. So here I noticed a lot of the traffic was having to go around this entire island through this residential area to get out of the city. So most of this traffic here, they're not going to visit these people. They're not family members. Some of them might be, but most of them are trying to get out of town. And there's only one way, and that was around the tiny low residential island. And so we do a little bit of a slip lane here to bypass this island and get directly to the highway. You're starting to see where my brain would want interchanges if we started adding those. That's where I'm starting to split this out and start designing it a little bit. There's some other areas where we want more exits to avoid going around the tiny island. We don't want everyone having to loop that island just to leave town, depending on where they're coming from. And again, just a little bit more of the lane math we started doing here and changing some of these roads just to get more traffic to flow through. It seemed to work really good. That's something that a lot of other YouTubers that do traffic fixes, I think you know what I'm talking about. They talk about that a lot, is the lane mathematics, and it's a real thing. Like, you notice it in real life. People are smarter in real life than in this game, which I think could be upgraded in a new City Skylines. Traffic AI, I'm looking at you. You could be a lot better. But about 3 minutes to go in today's build, and it's really just kind of seeing what we're up against next episode. We're going to start off with traffic. We're going to start off looking at traffic, and we did increase from, we started dropping down to about 82% traffic flow, got it back up to around 87, I believe, the last time I checked. Again, I preached about it a little bit last episode. I like seeing cars flowing. I don't like seeing no traffic. I like seeing a little bit of stoppage at stoplights. It's realistic that way. We got rid of that intersection because it was way too close to this main one coming off the industrial island. That was definitely a win. I paused the game, deleted the road, rebuilt it almost to where it connected. That way we didn't lose any of the zoning. And you can see things are flowing a lot better already. The backup coming into the city isn't happening anymore. They're flowing around the island, getting to where they need to go, to the different exits to the other islands. All right, we went a little bit over, 16 seconds over, because I lost track of time as I was checking out traffic. And yeah, so a lot's going on. We did hit a little bit of a traffic issue, as you saw. We're fixing a lot of that. We're going to start next episode by focusing on that a little bit more. The next thing I was going to do was figure out a slip lane from this island. So all the traffic coming this direction that's trying to just leave town right now is having to go through this road, loop around this residential area, and then leave. So if we get something similar, that would be ideal. Ideally, we would have this tile unlocked and I could readjust the way this freeway system's working. Right here, I think a four-way, a freeway interchange right here of having a highway go this way, highway go that way, and one split right through would be pretty sweet, because this is looking pretty ugly. Definitely doesn't represent what I would design if I was taking my time to make it look pretty. Oh, we got some death care to take care of. So yeah, we're gonna look through all of the needs. Electricity's getting close, water's getting close. So there's a lot of things that we need to take care of at the start of the next episode. But we're creeping up on that 40,000 mark. So that means we got about 11,400 people left to get into the city. It's gonna be doable. We're gonna get there. It's roughly, this fix here was huge. This was starting to back up. It was potentially going to start leading to some gridlock, especially once we got to this area. Everything's so spread out though with these islands, it almost helps us with the traffic, I think. Kind of interesting. A lot of entrances and exits. The one-way roads are definitely helping, even though they're causing cars to be on the road longer than they would need to if they could just, turn or go a certain direction. Specifically here, you come out, you could just go left and get on the highway. Instead, they're looping all the way around. There's some efficiency things that are just not very good in this build right now, and it's really because I'm really pushing myself to see how quickly I can get to 50,000 and not just think through a lot of it. And I'm tempted. Let me know in the comments if you're this far in the video and still here. Thank you. Hit the like button. But let me know if you think after we hit 50, if we hit 50 and traffic doesn't just ruin our entire plan, should we redesign it and make it look pretty? I was thinking about doing that and just restructuring a lot of this, adding a major highway system that really floats around all these islands and has exits and on-ramps that give you access to each island and separate the traffic that way. We might end up doing that anyways, but there's some things that I would like to use some mods to clean up some of these roads, and I just don't have the patience in vanilla these days to make these clean lines. This looks terrible. But yeah, the challenge-wise, it's looking amazing. Industrial and commercial starting to creep up on us again. We'll have to focus on that, but you can see we set a 20,000 goal. We're just a few people away from hitting that on this island, so we might be able to sneak in, or we will be able to sneak in a lot more offices and commercial. This leisure area I think is helping. I didn't watch. I'll probably take a look when I do the voiceover and the replay to see how that affected that commercial demand. I was hoping it impacted it a lot, but we'll see. I probably talked about that in the time lapse. But yeah, looking good. 38,659 people. You know, just a little island like this to go. What do we got in there right now? Yeah, a little bit more than that to go to hit 50,000, and we got this huge landmass here, this huge island here. Yeah, we could have gone a little more design friendly, a little less impactful on traffic. And one of the things that I might do is all these major roads I might D-zone. We'll see how it goes in the next episode. 5 is probably still going to do it. I don't know if we'll get to it next episode, but we'll see. I'm Socksway Up. I'll catch you on the next episode.